But it was alright. There was one time where we played a show in Sydney, and this was like right at the beginning when we were still like driving to save money. And it's like a 12-hour drive from Sydney to Brisbane, and I had an exam the next day.
No way.
And I was like lying down on the floor in the back of the van, everyone else drove so that I could study, and they dropped me off at my exam the next day. I only quit my day job like 6 months ago or something, because we're like completely independent and we like fund all of our own stuff.
What do you love about Tim's personality?
I get asked this sometimes, and it's like literally everything.
What do you love about his personality?
Basically everything.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with Tim of Cub Sport.
Hello.
So you were born in Brisbane?
I was born in New Zealand actually.
Oh,
in
okay.
a city called Dunedin. And then I moved to Brisbane when I was like a few months old or something.
For your parents' job?
Yeah.
Because your dad's an orthodontist, right?
Yeah. That's right.
And what did your mom do when you were growing up?
She looked after us for like most of my like school years, and then she ended up being the practice manager of Dad's orthodontic practice, and I worked there for a bit too. So, and my brother worked there as well. So it was like a family.
Where do you think you got your creative side from then?
Mom is pretty creative, and her parents were like really musical. They met at a choir, and my grandpa like played the pipe organ and stuff. So
wow.
I think that's where my musicality comes from.
What kind of music did they play in the house when you were growing up?
Dad listened to a lot of Pink Floyd, Leonard Cohen. I think they're like his two favorites that I remember the most.
Were they playing Christian music? Because I know it was like a religious upbringing.
I feel like I heard like sermons and stuff in the car sometimes, like recordings of preaching. And there was definitely a lot of Christian music like at church, but it doesn't really stand out to me too much in my memory. There probably was. Maybe I've like shut it out.
How would you describe your personality back then growing up?
My personality?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I think I was pretty outgoing when I was like quite young, and then I think around middle school I like started to like lose a bit of confidence maybe. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you know where that came from? Like losing confidence?
I think it was like just like internalized homophobia and like just not really knowing like who I was, or yeah, I don't know. I think as I like started to realize that there was like maybe like an expectation of like how I should be, and that I like wasn't naturally growing into that, I think I just started to like retreat a little. I don't know. Because
it was 24/7, right? Because like your school was religious, and then church was like every day, so you were kind of meeting the same like type of people. Yeah.
Like everyone that I knew had the same ideas about like life, and I guess like I just had no real perspective or no real understanding of what the real world was really like, and that there are so many different people, so many different beliefs and walks of life and that sort of thing. But yeah.
Did you have many people to talk to back then about what you were going through?
Not really. It was like I was like kind of pushing it out of my own mind, and it was scary, the idea of like talking about I guess a bunch of things that were just, I don't know, I feel like I didn't really feel like there was anyone to turn to, and even if there was, like I didn't really understand like what I needed to even talk to someone about, because it was just, yeah, like not spoken about.
Yeah. Back then, growing up, like what kind of career path did you think you would be in?
I always wanted to be a recording artist, and I always loved music. But I also really wanted to be an orthodontist like my dad.
What about it intrigued you?
What was that, sorry?
What about it intrigued you to be an orthodontist?
I don't know. I think I liked seeing, like from working at the orthodontic practice, I could see that like the difference that it would make in people's confidence and that sort of thing, like having their teeth like straightened or whatever, and the way that can kind of, I don't know, help someone feel better about themselves. Now I'm like, I used to be such a perfectionist with teeth and that sort of thing, and now I'm just like, no, like crooked teeth are like pretty cool. I don't know. But yeah, I started studying dentistry at uni, and then I dropped out a couple of years in to like do music.
What gave you the idea initially that you could be an artist? Were there a lot of people around you in Brisbane who were able to pursue it full time? Yeah, I do have a lot of friends who had kind of dedicated their whole life to like just pursuing creative endeavors like music and that sort of thing. I only quit my day job like 6 months ago or something, because we're like completely independent, and we like fund all of our own stuff. We've all like worked kind of like living a double life for like a long time. But it feels like it's getting to the stage now where Cub Sport is like kind of the sole thing for all of us, which is exciting. Yeah. So you guys met in school, right?
What was that, sorry?
You guys meet in school?
Yeah. So Sam, Zoe and I all went to the same school, and...
Was this high school or...?
Yeah, Zoe and I, it was like from preschool all the way through to grade 12. So Zoe and I met in primary school. I think we would have been like 8 or something. And then Sam came to our school when he was like 12, I think. And we met Dan through other school friends, like when we were in senior school. But yeah, we've all known each other for a while. We didn't really start hanging out until we were out of school, but we've known of each other for a long time.
Yeah, and then did you like Sam pretty much as soon as you met him, or?
Yeah, we were like, we didn't really hang out much for like the first few years of like being at the same school. But I always like liked him from a distance. He was like really musically talented and nice and funny. And then when we started hanging out properly, like in our last couple of years of school, I like started to develop a bit of a crush on him, and I think that's sort of when I started to realize that I wasn't straight. And initially you guys were like, what, Tim and Cub Scouts, right? Like yeah, Tim Nelson and the Cub Scouts.
Yeah. How old were you when you like first formed that?
I'm trying to think. I think I would have been like 19 or something. I think I was 17 or 18 when Dan and I like did my very first recordings. And then yeah, we put out our first like proper single in 2011, and then like first EP in 2012. But then we like the first Cub Sport release was our debut album, This Is Our Vice, in 2016. So yeah, it feels like there was like a lot of like growing and that sort of thing before we even like started releasing albums. And then it feels like since 2016 so much has changed. It feels like we've grown heaps since then. So yeah.
And then when was it when one of your first singles came on Triple J? That kind of gave you the initial momentum, right?
Yeah, so that was our first single, Evie. And yeah, from that we like we got a booking agent in Australia and started to have a bunch of like managers and labels and that sort of thing reach out.
Oh wow.
And yeah, we started getting like support offers for tours in Australia. So that was when I decided to drop out of dentistry, because I wasn't going to be able to like play any shows while I was studying, because the course was just like ridiculous. But yeah, so that was, it felt like that was like a really strong start under our other name, like Cub Scouts, because we went from Tim Nelson, like, the Cub Scouts,
legal problems.
So many name changes. But yeah, that it was like our first start, and it kind of feels like it was a different band to what it is now. Yeah.
And what were your parents thinking of you quitting school to do it?
They were all for it. Yeah, they said that I need to do what I'm passionate about, which was like amazing. Because I guess with Dad being an orthodontist, he had a lot of friends that were like, what are you doing, letting him drop out of dentistry?
Oh yeah.
It's like, I'm not letting him do anything. Like, it's his life and his decision. It's like, thank you. So yeah, they've always been amazing. And Dad said that when I dropped out of dentistry to pursue my passion, it like made him want to pursue his passion, which he always wanted to be a pilot. And then he also wanted to do dentistry. Like, was kind of tossing up the two. And then I think he got a scholarship for dentistry, so that's what he did. But he went and learned how to fly.
That's
like
so
after
cool that you inspired him.
Yeah. So that was a nice thing that came out of it.
And then are you still with the same managers that you had?
So we're self-managed now, and we were self-managed at the very start as well. We had management for a few years, like in the middle, and yeah, when it came time to release our second album, Bats, it just felt like we were moving into like a new phase of our career, and like a new phase personally as well. And it was like a really personal album for me. Like, it was the first time that I'd opened up about so many things, and I had a pretty specific idea of how I wanted it to play out. And I think that it was really important for us to kind of have the freedom to follow our intuition and like do like what our gut was telling us was the right thing. So we went back to being self-managed and completely independent, and put that album out through our own label. And
nice. Yeah,
it's been really amazing. I feel like that freedom has really allowed us to grow, and yeah, we've got a bunch of labels and stuff still contacting us, which is like really cool. And I don't know, we're always open to anything, to like explore things, but I feel like what the four of us have going on, like as a management team and a label and a band, it's pretty unique, and I really like it. So
what do you think gave you the confidence to share more in that album? But I know, so that was that the album that you like came out more to your fans, or?
Yeah. So while I was writing Bats, I was sort of coming to terms with like the whole situation and being in love with Sam, and I wrote half of it before I had come out, and then the other half on the other side of coming out. So there wasn't really a moment where I was like, I have the confidence to write about these things now. It kind of just started coming out like while I was writing and recording, and when I'm writing, I don't really think too much about like who's going to be hearing it or what the expectation is going to be. And I think for me, writing a lot of those songs was the way that I processed the whole thing and came to terms with it. I listen back to it now, and it's like really obvious what it was all about. But I remember when I was writing it, I felt like it was pretty vague and it could be about anything. But yeah, by the time it came time to release a second album, we had all those songs there, and it felt like a really important collection of songs that told an important story. And I was kind of just like, this is who I am, and I'm ready to be more open about that. So it was kind of, the songs came before the confidence to share them, but I think it was sort of through writing them that I got to that point.
But what is it like being in a relationship with Sam and also like being in a group?
Well, I guess I don't really know anything different.
That's true.
Well, like, we've been...
That's 24/7 for sure.
Yeah, exactly. We first fell in love when we were 17, and we haven't really spent a day apart since then.
Oh my god, that's so cute. I love that.
I went on a writing trip.
Oh yeah, you like came to LA, right?
Yeah.
To do that, yeah.
And I spent a bit of time in London as well. That was the first time that we'd been apart for years. And yeah, it was definitely the time when I was like, I guess I couldn't deny that there was a reason I was missing him so much, and yeah, that was kind of the catalyst to me like writing a bunch of songs. I wrote Chasin' just after that writing trip, and I think that was one song that Sam says really like gave him an indication of where I was at and like what I was feeling, which is like an interesting thing.
Yeah. What do you love about his personality?
He's very caring and nurturing and an incredible communicator on like so many levels. But yeah, basically everything.
I love that. You were the first person a lot of people came out to, right? Even people who are like 6 years old.
Yeah, I get a bunch of messages like from our fans, like people coming out to me and asking for advice and that sort of thing. And I've had people come out to me at shows like afterwards, like we try and hang around and do like a little meet and greet at lots of our shows. So yeah, it's pretty cool to experience that, and it's often something that people are like quite excited to tell me. And for me, like especially when I was younger, the idea of coming out was like a terrible thing that I put it off for so long and saying it was so scary. But it feels amazing to have like these young people like coming out and it being more of like a celebration for them in that moment than something that they're like terrified to admit or something. So it's like, yeah, very special for us, those moments.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges in your life so far other than coming out?
I think it's kind of been like I feel like coming out was the start of kind of shifting my whole perspective on life and my approach to living, and kind of retraining my subconscious, because I feel like I grew up letting my fears kind of dictate every part of my life, and I would tell myself like negative things that would then sort of create my reality. And I remember I would always talk about how I had like the worst immune system, and I feel like I started to get sick even more, like the more I would say it, and I've had like a bunch of health issues, and I like had meningitis a couple of years ago, and I feel like that's been something that's been pretty rough. And over the last 18 months, I feel like I've learned to like just be more positive and just start believing like believing that I am like healthy and strong and stuff, and I've like stopped getting sick, and I feel like yeah, I've had like an entire shift in like every area of my life where I've come to a realization that like our thoughts and emotions dictate like our physical world or whatever. And so becoming more conscious of that, I feel, has helped me overcome like health issues, and I think just sort of like a negative, fearful perspective of the world, which I think like held me back for quite a while. So, yeah.
Last question, what does love mean to you?
Love to me is like the opposite of fear. It's like empowering and uplifting, and yeah, I feel like love is like the most powerful force like imaginable. Yeah, that's how I put it.
I love this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, and now I'm with Sam.
Hey.
So you were born in Brisbane?
Yes,
also,
born and raised.
And all your family is there?
Pretty much, yeah.
What do your parents do when you were growing up?
They owned a Donut King. Do you have that here?
Donut King?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
It's like a donut chain.
Yeah.
So I grew up having like donut birthday cakes, and I used to go to the bakehouse at like 4 a.m. before
No way.
school, and they'd like pipe cream into my mouth, and I would like decorate the donuts.
So they're both creative then?
Yeah.
That's where you got your creative side from, just both of them?
Yeah, from the donuts.
From the donuts! What kind of music were they playing in the house when you were growing up?
Not like a huge amount. My brother and sister are a bit older than me, like a 9 and 11 year age gap between me and them. And they would play probably more music than my parents. There was like the Cores. I remember when they got the Spice Girls, CD. Savage Garden. Yeah.
And what did you gravitate towards early on?
I really loved the, like basically anything they played. But I was pretty obsessed with the Spice Girls.
I was just gonna say, I was like, the Spice Girls. Did you also have a religious upbringing?
Yeah. Yeah, so there was Christian music in the mix as well.
And was it like really 24/7, like the same as him?
Yeah.
With like Christian school, and also was that difficult for you early on, or?
Yeah, I think I bucked it pretty hard from like the age of 6. I don't know. It just never really felt like something that clicked for me. And then I guess I sort of used it as an opportunity to play music when I was a bit older. But
so you joined
I was pretty like
bands?
Yeah. I sort of distanced myself from it though as much as I could from a pretty young age. But yeah, Tim and I played music together, and Zoe on the same like musical team in chapel and stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah. I'd love some footage of that actually.
Oh no way. Yeah. And then was it easy for you from going from like chapel groups to like forming your own?
Yeah, I guess it's really the only, like Cub Sport's the only band other than that sort of stuff that I've ever been in. Tim just reached out to myself, Dan and Zoe when we all finished school and just said, I've written these songs, I want to play them, do you want to, like I've got a gig, do you want to play them with me? And we just sort of stuck around since then. So yeah, I guess it's the only experience I've really ever had, and it's stuck.
How else would you describe your personality back then growing up?
I don't know, I feel like I was pretty... There were so many things that sort of... that I had to like work through, that I just didn't really know I had to work through for some time. So I guess I kind of just went with the flow, not really asserting like any of myself in any part of my life. I sort of just like let things, I don't know, happen around me. And it took a little bit of like life experience and just figuring out what I actually wanted and what made me happy to sort of break free from that sort of it's almost like there was a period of time where I was asleep and then I woke up.
What do you think was the turning point for waking up?
I guess realizing that I deserved to be happy and like that what I wanted wasn't wrong.
Was it something that you read or something that clicked to you?
There were a number of things, but there was a particular turning point in 2016 when I did come out and I told Tim how I felt about him. I had read a book called A Little Life, and it sort of focuses on the story of 4 friends, and it just like straight from like the first couple of pages, it really struck a chord with me, and it sort of goes on to talk about their lives and it follows them right through, and there are a bunch of themes that I sort of felt were really pertinent to my own situation, and I realized at a certain point that like I was just wasting time, like I was delaying my own happiness, sort of thing.
What was it like throughout the years though? Because you both like liked each other, but you just you couldn't completely open up. How many years was it before 2016 that like when you first met each other?
8.
Oh my gosh.
When we met each other was when we were 12, so that was that was longer. But it was about 8 years of putting off the conversation.
Wow.
But like everything happens for a reason, and it sort of all led to being in a place where we were both ready. So as long as it was, I wouldn't change it.
Do you think your bandmates just knew it like all along?
Yeah, I feel like everyone, it was like it's written in the stars, everyone knew it. It's just like a matter of when, I guess. Yeah. No, I wouldn't change the journey for anything.
Yeah. And what kind of career did you think you would have like by the time you were in high school?
In high school, I wish I could remember what I thought I was going to do. I did like a lot of theatre stuff in school, and I definitely at one point thought I would do that. And then I don't know. I was a dental hygienist for many years.
Yeah, actually, how did you stumble upon that from donuts?
Tim studied dentistry.
Oh, so he kind of like told you all about it.
Yeah, we both went to dental school together, and I don't know, it worked out. It's another one of those things, like I didn't plan on doing it from like a young age or anything. It just kind of like came up and I was like, this is sweet.
What about it intrigued you?
I thought for a while I wanted to do something in the health profession.
Okay.
And this opportunity presented itself and I did it, and I don't know, I was good at it. And it allowed me to sort of work pretty casually in finance, like touring when we were at the start of Cub Sport, and yeah, it's another one of those things, like I wouldn't change it. I don't do it now, but yeah, it was good for its season. Did you graduate from it? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when Tim left dental school, because it was too hectic with that touring schedule, I only had 1 year left to go of my course.
Okay, yeah, because I was wondering. Okay, right.
And I just I had a full-on year doing both at the same time. But it was alright. There was one time where we played a show in Sydney, and this was like right at the beginning when we were still like driving to save money. And it's like a 12-hour drive from Sydney to Brisbane, and I had an exam the next day.
No way.
And I was like lying down on the floor in the back of the van, everyone else drove so that I could study, and they dropped me off at my exam the next day. And I aced it, it was good. It was fine.
That's awesome.
It's like the best I've ever done in an exam.
Oh, no. So you can balance that life then.
Yeah. I think 1 year was enough. I was like, I don't think I could have kept going.
And were your parents always supportive of you doing music?
Yeah, super supportive.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
And after like the Triple J, what do you think got you more momentum?
There was a point in 2016, a few months after our album came out, like our debut album, where we kind of decided to really take the reins and sort of own our destiny, if you want to go there. And we decided to release a song that the rest of our team sort of wanted us to go in a different direction. And we just made a video for like $100 for this song and went with it, and that one ended up, having really great organic pickup and people sort of really connected with it on a meaningful level. And I think that was a real turning point in realizing that like following our own intuition and what we believe in is really important, and that's sort of what we've done ever since.
How did you meet Golden Vessel?
That was, so I met him through Tim, who met him through our friend Grace Mulrat.
Actually, then how did you meet Mulrat? I also interviewed her. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. She came to a show we played, maybe like our worst show ever.
Really?
It was like at a uni orientation week kind of event.
Yeah.
And we hadn't played together for a while, and it was like the first time where Tim was playing guitar in the set, and we were playing like a bunch of songs from our upcoming debut album at the time. And it was like a really hot day in this really low set tent outside, and it was just like, I don't know, it just wasn't a great vibe, and like Tim's guitar fell off a couple of times, and like drinks got knocked on the stage, and she came up to us after, and she was like 15 at the time. She asked for a recommendation for a guitar teacher,
She's so cute.
And then kind of just like, I don't know, stayed in touch a little bit since. And then Tim and Grace were working on a song together, video. It's on a current album, and she said that she thinks Tim and Max would get along really well, Golden Vessel, and she put them in touch, and then ended up working a bunch together.
Nice.
Yeah.
What do you think was the next step for getting more of like the international audience? Like what happened?
It's just really being committed to coming back a lot. We just we've always had a global vision. We've sort of known it's something we wanted. So we just put the time and energy into it, and we just come back as often as we can. And
was it ever like daunting to you? Because I know like from Australia it's like actually sometimes hard to break out, because I like lived there for like just studying abroad, was there for a while.
It's
like a different scene.
And it's far away.
Were there like people you talked to, or like how you learned to do it?
We originally came for like some showcases in 2013, I want to say, and that's sort of what led to us getting like a record deal and stuff on our first album. And there was sort of a period of time where our label didn't want to like give us the money to come, so we just financed it ourselves. And we're like, no, like we really feel strongly about this, so we just paid for it ourselves and set up a tour, and we just sort of come back as much as we can ever since.
And how did you meet the Dolan Twins in the music video?
They came to our LA show that we played just under a year ago, and they just loved the music and the story, I guess, behind it all. And they sent him a DM saying that they'd love to make a music video for Hawaiian Party, and it's kind of like, it was just as natural as that. It's really cool. It's so sweet.
What were your inspirations for Cub Sport, the album?
Tim writes all the music, and he just sort of writes about his life and experiences and the people around him.
Actually, that's interesting. So you don't write as much as like, or do you also write?
I write like a little bit just for fun.
Yeah.
Like we've been making some meditation music recently.
Oh, really?
Which I really want to.
Like under a separate project?
No project at the moment, but who knows? It could be Cub Sport. I don't know.
Is writing not as much your thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something I put like a bunch of energy into, just because of time. Like because we're self-managed and independent, or a label like that takes up pretty much like the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed. Yeah. Like every day. So yeah, it's definitely something I'd like to do more of when we have a bit more downtime. But in terms of the creative process for Cub Sport, Tim writes the music and produces a bunch of it. Then we just bring it to life on stage.
What is it like this? Because probably a lot of the lyrics are about you, right?
There are a few. It's a good chunk.
And then you're performing songs about you.
Yeah, it's so special. Like I can hardly imagine what it would be like to not have it that way. I don't know. It's pretty incredible. And like when Tim's writing the songs and he shows me demos, and I get like this incredible insight into how he's thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
That's sort of what gave me courage in the lead up to our conversation about how I felt that it was mutual. So yeah, it's very special. Like it's not something a lot of people get to experience, I guess.
Yeah. And how did the proposal happen?
We had just been talking. I think we may have been crying about how happy we were. We were just like lying in bed, just like we had filmed a video that day for our single, the first single off the last album, Oh Lord, and we were just like, I don't know, so grateful for everything that is happening. And I just turned to him and I was like, do you want to marry me? And he said, yeah, like of course I do, but like, are you proposing to me? Like, like now? I was like, yeah. So it was pretty
Was it something that you were like waiting for a long time and just being like...
I had a plan, yeah, for how I wanted to do it. And then, I don't know, it's just in the moment it seemed right.
And you were postponing your wedding for a long time, right? But it happened already. Or
once we got engaged and married just after a year later.
Yeah.
Or pretty much a year on, yeah.
Nice.
But same-sex marriage was only legalized like 6 months after we got engaged.
Oh.
So we got engaged and then there was this huge nationwide, like it's all the news talked about for 6 months.
Yeah, I remember that.
The same-sex marriage plebiscite or postal survey in the end. So it was a pretty interesting, emotionally taxing time.
Yeah.
But it was great. It ended up being a way for us to use our platform to spread like a message of love and support the LGBTQ community and, I don't know, put forward an example of what a same-sex couple looks like in 2018 at the time.
Do you think your relationship has changed after getting married?
I don't know if it's changed drastically. I feel like we're just stronger than ever, like together and as individuals.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
How would you say your music has changed compared to the early songs?
I feel like as the journey of our personal lives has developed to a place of like self-acceptance and then a place where we can actually celebrate and fully embrace who we are, has been reflected in Tim's songwriting. And I feel like it's just more than ever, it's the essence or the truth of what Cub Sport is. So it feels like now more than ever it's like, this is who we are. It feels right.
What do you love about Tim's personality?
I get asked this sometimes and it's like, literally everything. Like I don't know.
He said the same thing about you. He's like, everything.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's like, I feel like we've got maybe a unique situation there. It's like there's nothing. Like there's nothing I find annoying or...
Wow.
I don't know. Very happy.
How would you say you've grown as a person compared to when you were younger?
Probably sort of on the same lines of what I was saying before. As I've sort of learned that like exactly who I am is amazing. Like I'm allowed to like embrace every part of me and celebrate it. That has probably been the most significant change to when I was younger, where I was sort of conditioned to believe that there were huge parts of who I am that are like shameful and horrible and that would send me to like an eternity of damnation in hell. So I guess realizing that isn't something that I identify with, I guess.
You kind of touched upon this previously, but what do you want Cub Sport to be remembered for?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd like, maybe more than anything, to be remembered for having left a legacy of just love, like pure love. I'd love to have an impact in people's lives that way.
Yeah, I love this. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, thank you.